Let's talk about the Detroit Lions now. Offensive stats from 2022. We look back on their offense. This was a good offense. 4th in yards per game, 7th in passing yards per game, 11th in rushing yards per game, and 5th for points per game. This surprised me after coming off a very bad 2021 season. All of a sudden, be this good offensively it shocked me. Jameson Williams wasn't playing that. He barely played last year. So all of a sudden, for this offense to be this good, shocked me. And Jared Goff shocked me. He's a good quarterback. I think he's still an average quarterback. This isn't a guy who's going to elevate the team to be a deep playoff contender, a Super Bowl contender. I can't see that happening with the Detroit Lions. But again, Jared Goff should be the guy for now. I was hoping. They did draft Hendon Hooker. Let's talk about Jared Goff. He got 4,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Again, a heck of a season. But there's a reason why they drafted Hendon Hooker. I think they realized that Jared Goff won't be that good to, again, take him to the Super Bowl, take him, a deep playoff contender. Again, good quarterback, can take him to the playoffs, but he's not going to do too much. He's not going to elevate that team to a championship contender, and maybe Hendon Hooker can do that. We'll see. He probably won't play this year. He'll be 26 most likely when he starts, possibly his first game coming not this year, but in 2024. But I'm excited for Hendon Hooker. I watched him play at Virginia Tech. I'm a Virginia Tech fan, so I know I like Hendon Hooker. I love Hendon Hooker. I low-key wish they would have traded up maybe for one of these quarterbacks, and maybe that's what they were doing until they were gone quickly. In my opinion, if I was them, I would have taken Will Levis. Not with that 6th pick, but I think with maybe one of the picks I would have taken Will Levis. But nitpicking there, but I'm excited for Jared Goff in this offense. You look at the running backs, you bring in David Montgomery, who's a better Jamal Williams, but kind of replaces that guy who's going to be running most of the ball. He's going to be taking most of the carries. You drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, which, again, I think it was a really high pick for Jahmyr Gibbs, and it somewhat reminds me, to some extent, of the Travis Etienne situation. They say that they're going to use him as a wide receiver, or they're going to use him in the slot more than maybe running the ball. The Jaguars said the same exact thing. They were going to utilize him as a slot receiver. And he can, and Jahmyr Gibbs can, but ultimately Travis Etienne turned out to be a running back. Mainly a running back. So that could happen with Jahmyr Gibbs, and you just paid David Montgomery all this money. Again, I think David Montgomery is a great running back. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back. Just a little early for me for Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, good receiving back. Give him the ball in space. He can definitely make some people miss and take it to the house if he really wanted to. So, again, excited for this running back group. A little too early for me for Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, I am excited about David Montgomery. And so, let's talk about this receiving core that is really, really intriguing. You obviously have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, he's a little overrated. But again, a good wide receiver one. We're not going to get into that, but I like Amon-Ra. He had a heck of a season last year. If I could pull up his stats here. I know he had over 1,000 yards. Yeah, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. A good receiver, good slot receiver in the NFL. But after Amon-Ra, I'm not too confident in this receiving core. I think it's fine. Especially, Jameson Williams is out for 6 weeks? 7 weeks or something like that. He's out for a little bit of a season, so that definitely sucks. Especially once he's coming off that ACL injury. Now he's going to miss more time. Again, still a big fan of Jameson Williams, but we need him on the field. You need him on the field. We need to see him on the field for me to feel comfortable, to be honest. Because if he keeps not getting on the field, that's a lot, because you did trade up for him. Now, to be honest, that was a fleece on your part versus the Vikings with that trade. Definitely had a heck, but pretty solid. So again, we'll see. You have Marvin Jones, who you brought in, who's not a bad wide receiver at all. Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. I don't think any of them are wide receiver 2. That Marvin Jones is definitely a good wide receiver 3. Josh Reynolds is nice. Khalif Raymond, good receivers. Tight ends. They drafted Sam Laporta, who I'm excited for in Detroit. I think he is a Detroit guy. He is a Dan Campbell guy, and I'm excited to see him because again, he's amazing after the catch. He's like a bowling ball. He's a bowling ball out there, and I think he'll be definitely a great addition to this tight ends, where I think it's a good tight end group. I like Brock Wright. I like James Mitchell. I know some fans of Lions before the draft are like, they're not going to draft a tight end in the first round. They don't need a tight end. No, they didn't draft a tight end in the first round, but I think they definitely needed a tight end. And I think Sam Laporte is going to be absolutely amazing. He'll have a great rookie season. But this receiving core, early on in the year, I don't know how confident I am in this receiving core when it comes to receivers and tight ends. Again, amon-ra is going to get his. I think Sam Laporte is going to get his. But missing out on Jameson Williams for another 6 weeks, I think, is absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. And could definitely stunt their growth on offense maybe early on this season. Because we know what Jameson Williams can do. He complements amon-ra amazing. He's a deep threat. He can go down. He's a big target as well. And he can outrun you. He's a good route runner. So he fits what they want to do. But again, out for 6 weeks. Just get him back on the field. Just get him back on the field. So let's talk about this offensive line. One of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And this is what makes this offense go. This is what makes this offense go, is their offensive line. We talk about Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, Vaitai. Don't know how to say his first name, so I'm not going to try it. And you got Penei Sewell. One of the best offensive lines in the league. It might be two. It might be the second best offensive line in the league behind the Eagles. But again, like I said, this is what makes this offenses go. You know, you have Jared Goff. You're giving Jared Goff time in the process, make plays, which is huge. And the running game benefits from this too. David Montgomery should be able to find a lot of holes. Jahmyr Gibbs, if he can find a hole, I mean, he's a smaller back, so he's going to be able to fit into some smaller gaps. And it could be lethal. This offensive line is obviously, again, like I keep saying, best offensive line, second best offensive line in the league. But overall, I think this just helps out the whole team. And when you have an offensive line this good, this is what allows you to have maybe an average quarterback play as well as he did last year. And so that's obviously the biggest thing that's helped this team, especially this offense, a lot. And also you got Penei Sewell, who can play receiver for you at times. You know, if you need to close to the game, call on Penei Sewell. He'll be great. So let's go ahead and talk about this defense now for the Detroit Lions. Last year, 32nd in yards per game, 30th in allowed passing yards per game, 29th in allowed rushing yards, and 30th in allowed points. It was not good. And they made some massive upgrades this past season to really help out this defense. I don't know if it's going to boost them into like a top 10 defense, maybe even top 15 defense, but this defense should be better. And if the offense is similar to what it was last year, or even if it just took a little decline, this is a team that can make the playoffs. This team that could win the division. And we'll get to that at the end of the video, but you look at the secondary. They made so many good moves on the secondary. Signing Cam Sutton, signing Manly Mosley, signing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, drafting Brian Branch, and you got the other guys. You know, don't take for granted or don't take too much. When you look at the positions, these guys can move everywhere. You know, don't put too much weight into where I put them at cornerback, safeties. Cam Sutton's a cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley's a cornerback, but Brian Branch can play slot, nickel, same thing with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They both can play safety. Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, they're safeties. And I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited for the versatility of this secondary. And obviously, they made some great moves. These guys fit the Detroit culture, and this defense should be a lot better than last year, especially in the secondary. And I'm excited. I mean, they signed, Cam Sutton to like 3 years, 4 years possibly. Emmanuel Mosley, I think, was an absolutely amazing signing. And honestly might be one of their most underrated signings this past offseason. You get C.J. Gardner-Johnson for a year. Drafted Brian Branch, which I cannot stress how much that was a steal. I had him as a top 5 prospect in this year's draft. I thought he was going first round. He fell to like the 10th pick in the second round or something like that. Steal. I'll say that. That was an absolute steal. So, again, I'm excited for what the secondary looks like. And then you go to the defensive line, the front seven. They made some moves. You got Alex Anzalone. You re-signed him. You drafted Jack Campbell. A little too early. I'm not going to nitpick it, but he's a good linebacker. But a little too early for me. You obviously got Malcolm Rodriguez, who definitely showed out. You got Julian Okwara and James Houston, who are going to be more of the outside linebackers coming off the edge. And then you look at the defensive line. You got Aiden Hutchinson. You know, if it wasn't for Sauce, probably would have won Rookie of the Year. He had 9.5 sacks last year. So again, I'm excited for Aiden Hutchinson. Big things for him, and I can't believe he went second overall. To be honest, I like the interior is fine. I'm a big Aleem McNeil fan, so I think he'll be a a good piece on interior. John Kaminsky is fine. Josh Pascal mainly coming off, on the outside. The edge rushers are good. I'm kind of scared of their run defense. I think that's the biggest thing, at least when it comes into the interior defensive line. I'm scared of their run defense. And hopefully Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez kind of, minimize what could happen to the middle of that interior defensive line. So, again, we'll see what happens. They made some ton of moves. And, again, Jack Campbell. Dude's an absolute freight train. For his size, he's really athletic. It's super interesting of how athletic he is. And I think he can be a really good linebacker. When you talk about him, I thought he was going to go in the second round and be an absolute beast, but a little too early for me. I'm not, again, like I said, I'm not going to nitpick it, but he was my linebacker 3 in this draft class. So, again, we'll see what happens, but good linebackers. I like their linebacker group. I love their middle linebacker, outside linebacker group. Defensive line, I like the edge rushers. I'm just a little scared about their interior defensive line. So, again, we'll see what happens with the Detroit Lions, and maybe they can go ahead and possibly win the division. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below, what did I get right and wrong about this team? And subscribe while you're at it. And hit the notification bell if you're still waiting for your team to get talked about. And if you want to see the full preview of this team's division, go ahead. The video should be on the screen right now. Peace out.